What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Thank you for stopping in. Today I have a first look at the newest iteration of the full-size XO. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here, and hit that thumbs up button before you head out. I truly appreciate it, everyone. It really helps push the video out there so more people have a chance to check it out. Let me know what you're carrying in your pockets today down in the comments. So what we are talking about here today is the newest iteration of the Reate XO. And I got to tell you what, I picked up the original first XO, which the first XO was a full-size configuration just like this one here. And then since then, they've put out the XOM, which is their middle one. And then they've put out a mini, which is the smallest iteration. So they have several different sizes. There are different blade shapes available, tantos, drop points. They have a dagger / spear point version as well. They have always been titanium handles, and they all have different inlays that you can get, from newest ones being titanium. They have micarta, G10, a bunch of different variations that you can choose from. Now, this newest iteration is going to have these two-tone blades. We have a PVD coating here on the primary and a hand satin here on the flats. Now, the cool thing about these is they're going to be coming in L-Max, which was one of the three main draws to this knife for me. I'm a huge L-Max fan. I like L-Max. It's really well-rounded. And what makes this knife so unique, this is just a knife. You know how we like things just because they're cool, or you might like something just because it's cool or it's awesome. That is what this is to me. You know, is this the most ideal pocket knife? Is this the strongest pocket knife? No and no. But one thing this pocket knife really is freaking awesome. Now, this, if you're not familiar, this is a full-on gravity knife. Gravity knives are not new to the knife world. They've been around for a long time. They have been regulated for a long time, not only in the United States, but all across the world. And they are very hard to obtain and very hard to get outside of the U.S. Even in the U.S., certain blade length restrictions exist. A lot of people might be able to own something like this, but they can't carry it outside their house, which Pennsylvania used to be like that up until a year or two ago. We now are legally allowed to not only own these, but we can carry these outside. We have no blade length restrictions, but just the sheer size and length of the blade is going to eliminate this knife from certain jurisdictions. You toss in the fact that it's a gravity knife, and it's going to, restrict this even more in a lot of places. So, for all intents and purposes, this is a heavily regulated knife, and in a lot of places in the U.S. and outside the U.S., it is either illegal to own or illegal to carry. So, a very controversial knife this Reate XO is. Now, this one in particular, we have a full PVD coated titanium frame with a titanium inlay. We also have a titanium filler tab, a titanium button, a titanium pocket clip, and another titanium inlay with a filler. And that filler means that you can switch this lock around to the other side, and you can also switch the pocket clip around to this side. So they are really thinking of lefties here, which is really cool. Now, in regards to the pocket clip, being as this is the first time the full size has had a pocket clip put on the knife, which I think is a huge deal. Here is the first iteration of the original XO, and as you can see here, there's no lock, there's no clip. The only safe way to carry this knife was in a slip. So not only was this kind of, doing whatever it wanted, these were kind of hard to control. I wouldn't say gimmicky, but kind of hard to, use in a real world sense. Could you get it out and make a cut quickly? You know, yes, you could. But for real use, you kind of needed this lock. And I said that when I first bought this and I first made a video on it a year and a half ago. I said this would be a game changer with a lock and a pocket clip. And finally, here we are, you know, 2 years later, and finally the full-size version does have the clip and the lock. So why don't we take a look at this thing in the pocket? We'll use our Issuing Stitches Hank here and get a look at this thing. So there will be a little bit poking out of the pocket, but that's going to be nice for getting this out of the pocket as well as putting it back in. Really good retention on the pocket clip. And like I said, you will be able to switch that thing over if you want to carry this lefty, and you can flip the switch over as well. Now, moving to that switch, they made it so it is very, very intuitive. I had never handled an XO with the lock. You know, I never handled the M, I never handled the Mini. This is the only XO I ever handled. So getting this out of the box, I thought I would have to get used to this lock, and it really became second nature when using the knife, whether it's opening it, sliding that up, or closing it up and locking it back up. It just becomes part of the movements, right? And that's they did a really good job at placing this and how to operate it. It's very, very intuitive and very functional. You hear a nice click every time it moves, nice click. So really well done. And what's happening here is there is a little bar that travels right here underneath this scale. It's traveling in and out of this track when it is unlocked, as you can see. But when we engage it, and you can see that it's in the locked position, it is sliding a tab up in here behind this titanium, and it is going to keep this thing locked up pretty well. I have not had any issues locking this up, this thing coming unlocked or anything like that. And for the most part, it seems like it's going to be pretty stable. Now, time will tell, but I think between the Mini and the XOM, I think if there were issues with this lock, we would know about them by now. And as far as I know, I have never heard of a single issue in regards to the lock not doing its job. Now, are you going to be able to take this and beat it into a log with a hammer and it be okay? That I don't know. But under normal, everyday use, and maybe even taking it a little further, I think this knife will be perfectly suitable for that. I love the full size here because there is a ton of handle length here where if you need reach, you can get that reach. If you want to be in like a standard grip, that you got that all day long, and you can spread out if you want to. You can choke up right behind that edge if you need a lot of control over your blade here. And because there's nothing making you stay in any one grip, you can actually choke up right behind the edge and get up on that tip for a nice precise cut with that pokey tip or this secondary edge, depending on what you're doing and depending on which blade shape you have. But either which way, drop point or tanto, you'll be able to get right up on that tip and make precise cuts, which I really love. That's something I tend to look for in certain knives, and this is going to be great at precision cuts with that nice pokey tip. We have a fairly thick blade stock here. This is a more robust type of knife. It's not going to be a utility slicer, although this does have a fantastic edge right out of the box. And when I say fantastic, I mean one of the best edges that I've had out of the box in quite a while. With the fan blowing, just going right at it, this thing is ridiculously sharp, guys. Buttery sharp. it's really, really well done. So right out of the box, the fit and the finish, the build quality of this knife is phenomenal. I got this at White Mountain Knives. I believe other retailers are picking this up. But at the time of buying this, I think Blade HQ and White Mountain Knives were the only places that had them in stock. I did use my code GBALL10 there to get 10% off. So that did help knock off a nice little chunk of change. You can use that code as well if you would like. It's not an affiliate link or anything like that. It's just strictly a coupon code to help my viewers get a little bit of money off. Now, you can use that on 99% of the knives at White Mountain Knives. There are a few select models you can't use it on, but they are labeled in the description that you can't use coupon codes on specific knives, specific brands, that sort of thing. But for the most part, you can use the coupon codes. And on the Reate XO here, I was able to plug my code in and get 10% off, which is a nice chunk of change when it comes to this knife here. Now, this is going to slide up and down on that track very nicely, very smoothly. It's going to be almost effortless to use this knife, and you can kind of do the slow drop out if you want, or you can do the old quick throw it open type of deal. And with practice, you get pretty good at it. It's hard to do it under the camera, but like I said, with a little bit of practice, you can do a lot of different stuff with this. And you can open it backwards and all that sort of stuff. And you can see here that if you want to switch this over to lefty carry, there is the track for switching it over to lefty. So really cool what they have done with this updated model. And this is the model right here that I always wished this one would be. Now, I love the slip I have for this. I had a custom slipped on. I still love this knife. It's really, really well done, really well made. This one is coming in 3V, which is a fantastic tough steel. But LMAX, in my opinion, is where, you know, that's where it's at for me. LMAX is a fantastic and well-rounded steel. It fits this knife very well. One of the most controversial knives of the last couple of years has been the Reate XO, mainly because of the legal status and so on and so forth with all of that, which I find not very amusing. I think it's ridiculous, the knife laws that people have to deal with, whether it's 2.5 inches and under, 3 inches and under. I think all of those should be null and void. They should be eradicated. There should be no more blade length restrictions. There should be no more auto this restriction, gravity knife that restriction. It's all ridiculous. It's a ploy. It's about control. There's absolutely no reason for it. Any witch knife you can pick out, whether it's studs, a flipper tab, a cutout, a fuller, front flipper, you name it. Those knives are going to be just as quick, if not quicker, to get out of your pocket and open up than anything like this or an auto with a button. I mean, they're going to be equal, or the manual knife is going to be even quicker. So it's really just a ploy. It's really stupid, and I feel for anyone that has to deal with that stuff. I used to deal with it too here in Pennsylvania. We used to be able to own autos and gravity knives, but we couldn't carry them outside of our house. Tell me how much sense that makes. You can own this, but you cannot use it or carry it outside of your house. It becomes illegal then. Tell me how much sense that makes. Tell me what you think of the new Reate XO. Tell me what you think of all the blade, all the knife laws across the U.S. And if you're not in the U.S., tell me what bullshit knife laws you have to deal with where you are. Love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I always appreciate it, everyone. If you're new here, we release videos just like this one every single day. Hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell. I'd love to have you here. I'll throw up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.